These quarantine conversations, I think they have taken on a life of their own. We are joined now by Chris Panos. He's the head men's lacrosse coach at Queens. He comes to us from his mom's basement. Hello,
Yes.
Chris.
That's there, Phil. Glad to be with you. Yes, that's true. I'm in Holbrook, New York right now, broadcasting live from the basement.
The basement. Well done. That's everybody's dream. I'm watching TV and I see Chris Cuomo hosting a nationally televised show from his basement. So I think that you can join our little quarantine conversation from your basement, your mom's basement. Also, so you're back home. You hopped on a flight. You got out of here quickly. You went up north. You're with the family. You flew into the hotbed. You flew into the inferno. It's okay. But you're a Long Island guy. I'm a Long Island guy. So what do we do at lunchtime when we get together?
Well, now that I'm back on Long Island, I went one step further. And as you can see here, not only do we have pizza bagels because I wanted the best of both worlds. So here we are. What I'm not going to do is actually bite into this right now because I don't want to ruin this shirt.
You've got your Miami Vice look going. I was hoping for your Ray-Ban sunglasses that you've worn in previous interviews out on the lacrosse field, but I guess that wouldn't be fitting in your mother's basement.
I thought about it to match the jacket. I felt like Don Johnson back on Miami Vice. My mom said I looked springy, so here we are.
Well, the other thing is that I'm going to get as many references to your mom's basement in this interview as possible. That's just what I'm going to do. But I picked up a slice because, a little delivery slice. Of course, I've got the old school looking grandma plates here, like New York Italian grandma plates. Where do you think I got them from? Hand me down. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start biting into my slice.
It's not as good as Long Island.
No, it's not. It's also a little bit cold. It's been sitting out here for a couple of minutes. So talk to me. The day that everything got shut down for this spring, where were you when you found out that, okay, this season is over?
Ultimately, it happened really quickly. We were preparing, like we did weekly, practicing. We actually were just getting ready to do our scout preview. And, we were going back and forth with emails with administration, watching the news. But ultimately, we had remained hopeful, just, buying as much time as we could together as a group.
I'll try not to chew too loudly. Also, can we throw out some disclaimers for the record? Slice, this is how you properly eat it. You fold it. And this is not a cheese slice. This is a regular slice. Right? If you walk to your local pizzeria in Holbrook, New York, and you ask for a cheese slice, what are you going to get? Dough with just cheese on it.
Absolutely.
Nothing else. Okay.
Correct.
It's a regular slice. So you found out pretty quickly. Were you at practice? Because it happened about 4 p.m. or so, which is typically around practice time for a lot of teams.
Well, for us, actually, we had already practiced in the morning. A lot of our practice took place at 6 a.m., which for us is really conducive to our academic curriculum. And it gets us, going pretty early in the morning. So we had kind of put the practice piece to bed, and it was more of the preparation that we were looking into later in the day. But again, things kind of came down quickly, and we had to just, react to what was told to us. Obviously, tough news, very disappointing. Still trying to wrap our heads around it. But, each day that goes by, we've had the ability to communicate with our players directly via, video calls, phone calls, text, sort of every way imaginable, just to sort of lighten the blow. But, nothing can really prepare you for what we're all going through at this point.
Yeah. And at some point, I guess you find out from the administration, whether it be a phone call, email, that you have to then relay this to your team. How did you do it, and what was that conversation like?
Well, again, it was one of those things where we tried to get everybody together as best we could, and sort of, again, with class schedules and guys kind of scrambling around, we really didn't have the ability to do it as an entire group in person, which was definitely disheartening, just for the simple fact that we're basically a family. And to kind of piecemeal that together with communication was rather difficult, although we did it. I think for us, I would have liked to have been able to do that more in person as a group. However, I was able to scramble and really get the seniors out to a nice dinner in Charlotte to sort of pay tribute to those guys. Obviously, there wouldn't be enough words to express our gratitude for those young men. However, it was a nice time to share. We spent a couple hours, lots of jokes around the table, sharing some memories and stories. So we sort of galvanized the group there. And honestly, it was very therapeutic for us in terms of there were some tears at the table, myself included, some funny stories, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, it's those memories that really, I think, for me, and I think a lot of those guys, it was a pleasure to share those, and we'll continue to do those.
You were building the program in the right direction. You made the NCAA tournament last year. You were up into the top 10 in the country this year. Literally, the week this happened, you cracked the top 10. While you're spending time sitting in mom's basement, how often do you think to yourself, what could have been? We could have accomplished a ton. We may have actually taken a program this season from a conference contender into a regional and a national contender. How often do you think about that?
I mean, every day. It's funny you bring that up because I was on the phone call with one of our young men early this morning, and we were just kind of reminiscing of like, hey, where would we be right now? What would our record be? And of course, we're all, we're like, yeah, we would have been this or this, but we won't never know. So that's sort of the challenge in your brain of the mental anguish. It's just like we don't know. But then again, we're always thinking that for us, it would have been a special season. We had a great group of guys, hardworking guys that really challenged themselves every day on and off the field and in the community. So when you look at the grand scheme of things and our picture of our particular program, I'm very proud of what we've done, not only this year, unfinished business certainly, but over the last 4 years, if you call it that, the culmination of what we've been able to do, where we've been able to take the team. Again, community service, academic achievements, obviously personal and team accolades. But at the end of the day, it's the relationship to me that really I hang my hat on.
Yeah. And what I've gathered from coaches thus far, especially those winter coaches that were at NCAA championships, or in the case of basketball, they were literally about to board the bus to go to the NCAA championships. The university made the decision that the school was going to pull out about maybe 20, 30 minutes, if not a little bit more, within the hour before the NCAA made the decision. You've got a large roster. You got one of the bigger rosters on campus. So this very likely could have happened. Tell me if I'm wrong. You may have had kids looking down at their phone, looking at ESPN, CBS, whatever updates, and seeing the NCAA's announcement before you could have gotten to them. That would make me uncomfortable as a coach. How did you feel about that as a coach?
Yeah, well, it's definitely, again, the communication piece was happening so fast and furious. And it's one of those things where you're not exactly sure what to read and what to look into. NCAA obviously garners the whole entire landscape. So when you see NCAA and the breaking news, it's sort of like, this is real serious. So then the phone started to ring a little more. Obviously the dialogue, ramped up in terms of questions, uncertainty. And really, it was just trying to gather as much information so we could advise our young men of what we're actually doing.
Yeah. Well, so I know that now, because I see this on Twitter, from your Twitter account, you are regularly holding video calls with maybe 20 of your players at a time. There's all these little boxes and some of the screenshots that you put on Twitter. What do you guys talk about?
Well, it's interesting. We tried to do the team. We've done a couple of things. Individual calls, we've done that. I've done FaceTime calls individually. And then what we're going to try and do starting tomorrow actually is going to be by class. So our rising sophomores, rising juniors, rising seniors, and our incoming class, sort of in those little groups, just to make it more intimate in terms of just relationship building, guys that you're going to probably spend a lot more time with growing through the academic process. But then again, we're going to also open it up to our team where, again, having 45 guys sort of chiming in. For us, we're kind of going to make it, you get 2 minutes on the mic and we're in this for an hour and a half, and we're open to sharing everything. It doesn't have to be lacrosse. And to your point, to your question, I talk about everything. We talk about family, food,
Last bite.
experiences, anything really to get the mind going in a different direction. And again, what I mentioned earlier about the therapeutic pieces is I've really learned a lot more about my players. And it's been really refreshing to see a lot of commonalities. And we have hunters, we have fishermen, we have guys that do other sports, guys are getting creative with their workouts and sharing.
What's the coolest thing you've heard of how they are spending their quarantine time?
Well, I've been telling the guys, help out around the house, help mom and dad with the chores. I've seen some really good bedheads at 11 o'clock in the morning where normally they're getting up at 5. I'm seeing some really good bedheads. I'm seeing some interesting outfits. But again, we try to keep it light. Everybody has a way of mourning, and this is certainly a traumatic experience. So for us, it's whatever we can do to have a smile, tell a joke. Everybody's disappointed. I mean, it's not just sports, it's life, and people are going through crazy things. And we're just trying to, sharing the emotion, sharing the heartache, but also knowing there's going to be a light at the end of the tunnel for our guys and everybody really to just be positive, stay the course, try to be as consistent as you can with what we were doing, despite the location and the online transition. And one of the things I do,
regimented time you have with them, right? Like if you said 90 minutes, you've got to be there, and they have the capabilities to do it, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's as far as the video conferencing call, you're saying?
Yeah. And you guys spend time together. So it's a regimented, this day a week, 90 minutes. We're team bonding, even though we can't be together physically. We are together as best as possible virtually.
Absolutely. I mean, the camaraderie piece we talk about all the time, our culture in terms of staying connected, being a family, believing and trusting in one another. And you'd be surprised at, just some of the emotion that guys actually share. It's a vulnerable time for all of us. But I also think that that's going to galvanize our group in terms of understanding that, hey, if something is taken away from you, don't take things for granted. Be in the moment. Understand that, at any moment in time, things could be stripped away. And certainly this case is unprecedented. And we're just taking it. We're trying to be as resilient as we can. And the character piece is what we talk about all the time is how can you get through it? Find a solution. Try not to be the problem.
Yeah. Your seniors, you had a pretty big senior class. I was just reading the Spotlight story that was put out on the Queens Athletics website about them. Have you had a chance to talk to them yet and figure if any of them would be interested in using the potential extra year of eligibility that it's been approved for Division I and is likely coming for Division II for spring sports athletes?
Oh, absolutely. It's been approved. The legislation's moving along pretty quickly. There's been some edited and updates, daily. So it's just one of those things where we're taking the information as it comes from the top, i.e. the NCAA administration from our program, just in terms of getting the accuracy out to the players, certainly the seniors who have a vested interest in their future.
Yeah.
Again, with our guys, we've had many conversations, more than one with each of them, just trying to gauge their interest and trying to see how this is going to all fit. Obviously, there's a lot of moving pieces financially, eligibility, just job opportunities. But then again, at the end of the day, most of these guys, if they wanted to do that, it's sort of kind of up to them if they would like to continue their education, which we certainly encourage that. Yeah. But also understanding, the dynamics of certainly at a time like now, if you have an opportunity to get a career started with a great company, we certainly want to try and push those guys to that, just for the simple fact that if an opportunity does present itself, this is kind of what you're built for, to take that next step. But certainly we had a few guys, probably about 4 guys right now, that we think could have the ability to come back based on a couple scenarios. We're still kind of working through that, but also got to remember we have a large incoming class as well. So we're trying our best to look at the roster, try to keep it at a manageable number. But again, it's one of those things where you never really know. So as we move through the semester, once we get that graduation in May, that's really the piece that I'm most important now. That's what I'm really, honing in on with these guys, is finishing the last 3.5 weeks strong, be confident, be on time with your assignments, be proactive with your communication with your professor. So that way you can go into the finals and really handle your business and be confident in that. And then as we transition from that, graduation piece, then these conversations will be ongoing as far as, getting down to the reality of like, hey, what do you guys want to do?
Yeah. One of them specifically, Eric Fitz. He's a walking highlight reel. Made the SportsCenter top 10 last year. Basically pulled out the exact same style of goal versus Coker. Jump from behind the cage, wrap around with one hand, and place it in the back of the net. And I've watched goalies flummoxed, spinning their head, not realizing where he went. His goals, some of them that he has scored, those one-hand wraparound goals, where do they rank on goals you've seen? And let me qualify that question by saying you're as established as anyone as far as American-born lacrosse players and played professionally for many years in the National Lacrosse League. So you've seen some good players and you've seen some brilliant goals. Where do Eric Fitz's one-handed goals rank?
Well, they're amazing. Obviously, again, if you break it down, you're looking at just, in terms of how hard it is to score just, regular style goals, if you will, to be able to do some things like that and really elevate your style, the creativity. One of the things that we really encourage our players to do is be creative. Obviously we want to make good decisions and have high IQ, certainly. But at the end of the day, it's a creative game. It's the creator's game.
Yeah.
And one of those things where we let those guys play with their instincts. And he's certainly a guy that is resourceful. He's very athletic. And, he has the ability to make those highlight reel type plays. And we were very excited for him to get exposure for us on SportsCenter.
Yeah. So I don't think that the average fan of your program who's from Charlotte realizes. But where you and I grew up, and I'm sure some of the kids from Maryland, maybe even upstate New York, New Jersey, and probably some of the student athletes you've had from Canada as well have probably experienced a similar culture. When you go down to the local park to play, pickup lacrosse is a thing. Like, I never played organized lacrosse, but growing up on Long Island, I knew all about the sport. All my friends went on to play collegiately on scholarship, most Division I at big prominent schools, and Hofstra, like where you played. But the pickup lacrosse was a thing. I never played, but I had a lacrosse stick, and I would go play pickup lacrosse with these guys. So are you worried that because the parks have basically shut down, they're not letting people do that, could skills deteriorate if your guys can't go to the local park and play pickup lacrosse?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's like anything else. I tell the guys pretty much on a daily basis, you either get better or you get worse. And there's always ways to find out ways to be creative in limited space, limited time, whether it's just stick drills in the house. Don't break anything, Mom. But, it's, if you have a backyard, you have a cage, you have a cement wall nearby, there's lots of ways to stay sharp, watching film, watching YouTube clips. I've done a lot of research. It's like I'm always evolving as a coach and trying to figure out ways to get better as a coach, figure out ways for my players to improve. I certainly share a lot of details with these guys. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things where, again, I tell my players, you have to be self-motivated. You can't rest on the complacency or your laurels of what you did yesterday or the day before just because you did it well. We need to continue to grind and challenge yourself. And you're seeing all across social media, the challenges this and challenges that. And a lot of those things, it's like, hey, this is pretty cool. I mean, I think people have really just gone to being resourceful, creative, and trying to figure out ways to stay engaged and still be able to participate in an awesome sport.
When you say the cement wall, I think about the video I saw the other day of Roger Federer hitting trick shots between his legs up against the wall in his backyard. I mean, I guess even the most elite athletes of our time are in a similar situation that you and your players are. Find a cement wall and throw, catch, work on your passing, work on your shooting. But I guess there's not a whole lot else you can do right now. And again, it's not you, it's everybody. It's the whole world.
Yeah. It's sort of the cool thing about lacrosse is you have a stick and a ball. You can stick fake and do a lot of things. And honestly, the repetitions is really what it boils down to. Yeah. So I could sit in this chair right now. I don't have my stick here, but if I did, I could be doing some things right here. And it's like, if I do 1,000 of these, like I'm going to get better. But if the stick's in the corner, that's on you. I mean, and that's the one thing that I really always would pride myself on is always trying to have the best skills. Because at the end of the day, if you have really good skills, you're probably going to be an asset to your program.
So I went to Farmingdale High School, very prominent lacrosse high school. Can we set this for the record for all the lacrosse people watching? Long Island is the best lacrosse in the world, period. End of story, done. Sorry. That's it. That's how it works. I know the Southeast is growing. I know you're partial to the Southeast because you coach in the Southeast now. But where you're sitting right now in mom's basement is the best lacrosse in the world.
Well, I would say this, lacrosse has come a long way.
Oh, yeah.
Being a Sachem high school guy, my high school used to be Sachem North. It's now Sachem North and Sachem East. That's divided. So just the growth in terms of schools playing, I'm seeing more schools now on Long Island. Like back in the day, there was some high schools that did not play lacrosse. They are not only playing now, they are competing at a high level. So the landscape, certainly, I would put Long Island lacrosse up against anybody. But again, there's so many places playing lacrosse in non-traditional pockets of the country and Canada.
Out west, Colorado is a big
absolutely.
Yeah.
We have 5 guys on our team from Texas. If you would have told me 15 years ago, lacrosse in Texas and Florida and Arizona and Colorado and all the West Coast, California, it's awesome because you have great athletes. You have great coaches that are relocating, which is cool to see. I have lots of friends and colleagues all over the globe. And to me, it's awesome just to see the growth of the game and the popularity and the exposure, obviously with the PLL growing, the National Lacrosse League, Major League Lacrosse. You're just seeing, a plethora of programs just blowing up. And I think for the overall growth of the sport, it's going to be great for future, hopefully Olympics. I participated in the World Indoor Lacrosse Championships on many occasions, just to see that next step of hopefully seeing in the Olympics. Because I really believe that the athletes, the skill, the athleticism, the determination, I'll put lacrosse guys up against any athlete in the world. Forget the money.
Yeah. So I say that because I want to share a story with you. I once overheard old Bobby Hartranft, the legendary coach at Farmingdale High School, actually telling his team after the last game of the season when they were eliminated, I want to say in the Long Island Championship game versus West Islip, maybe made another deep postseason run. And he said exactly what you said. Don't let, I don't care whatever happens. Don't let that stick sitting in the corner be detrimental. Have a stick in your hands. Don't let your stick skills be something that holds you back. Sometimes you can't control how big or strong you are. You can hit the gym, but there are always going to be guys who are bigger and stronger than you. But everybody can control their stick skills.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's really again, it's such a creative sport, and the nuances of the stick handling capability, the deception. It's a fun sport to watch from an entertainment perspective. So, but again, it always will boil down to the skills, and then every other things fall into place, the IQ, the athleticism, those things will factor into guys, being better or, on the evaluation piece.
Yeah. And I wonder on a macro level, if a sport like lacrosse, if this was more untimely for a sport like lacrosse as much as any of them, given how much it had grown. I've seen the Premier Lacrosse League. It was started, I guess, by Paul Rabel, correct? And it was started a couple of years ago. And it has taken off to the point that people actually watch it. People attend the games. And it just feels like this will be more detrimental to a sport like lacrosse than any. And it's unfortunate. So I guess my question to you would be, what is your message to young lacrosse players right now to keep the sport alive, to keep the sport growing at the rapid pace of which it was growing?
Well, I think it's going to continue to grow. I just think it veered off in terms of the on-field play.
Yeah.
But if you notice, this is what the great thing about social media. I would say I'm not sure it's going to fall off in terms of the coverage. In fact, I think it's actually ramped up. People are taking more pride in writing articles, sharing stories, sharing details. And I think that's galvanizing the lacrosse community to the point where especially with the eligibility and things like that, my opinion, next year's lacrosse is going to be unbelievable. I mean, because you're talking about, first of all, the determination, the dedication, the commitment that we already had, and then that's stripped. And now you're going to have guys switching teams and this and that. And it's just like, it's going to bolster, I think, the overall landscape across NCAA. And you're going to see a lot of teams get better. And I think the overall competitive nature of the games are going to be awesome from top to bottom and all levels of divisions.
Yeah, I'm excited to see next year. I'm excited to see next spring as a whole, given the whole eligibility situation and the fact that there's going to be, for example, you mentioned competitiveness between teams and the hunger between teams, but that's going to be there internally as well because you'll have so many more players and the number of players aren't on the field. The rules of the sport aren't changing. So that's going to be very interesting to see. But no, I agree with you. There's going to be such pent up anxiety specifically for all sports fans and when sports return, but for lacrosse, I think more than any, those spring sports as much as anybody. So no, I think it's an interesting point you make, and I agree with you. Take me inside a typical self-distancing / quarantine day for Coach Panos right now.
Well, nothing's really changed. I mean, other than my location, to be honest with you. I mean, I still work out. I still go running. I still do sprints like I'm playing. Like I feel like I could still go out there and make plays. But obviously, I've had to transition my mindset to the coach factor. But for me, it's just the routine. You know, I still get up early. You know, my phone still has all the alerts about our practices and games. And it's like, oh, well, I still try to keep that consistency. I work out at the same time. You know, I try my best to stay, obviously doing all my work. That never ends. It's a 24/7 deal. You know, if you're a coach, you know that you're all in or you're not. And if you're not all in, you're probably not winning a lot of games and building those relationships. And that's really what I take the pride on, communicating with my players. The work may have shifted in terms of the practice planning and the schematics of scouting and all that preparation. Now it's just more the day-to-day operations, looking ahead, you know, seeing what our roster is going to look like. But really what it's focused on is just staying in communication, you know, making sure my guys know how much I appreciate them and care about them. And again, we talk about a lot of things. It doesn't have to be lacrosse. I don't expect it to be about lacrosse. It could be a 2-minute call. It's like, hey, what are you up to? I'll FaceTime. I'm on the track. What are you doing? Hey, I'm over here. And it's just like, we're just trying to figure out ways to stay in touch. But as far as the quarantine, I guess for me, I just hope people take the severity of the pandemic and really understand the value of how every single person can make the needle move one way or the other. And if everybody buys into that, I feel like we all have to be on the same team in that regard so we can hopefully push this to the side and everybody can get back to normalcy.
Yeah, I don't know that if I can opine a little bit, I'll agree with you. And I hope that everybody takes it seriously because the more seriously we take it, the more quickly sports will come back. And the more quickly we are likely to get back to everyday life. But I don't know. Well, listen, life down here in Charlotte has changed quite a bit. It's very different every day. I don't know that opinion has necessarily trickled its way all the way through the country. And I hope that, I mean, I'm sure you're seeing it firsthand being in New York, all accounts that I've got from friends and family. I mean, my parents are both elderly and they haven't left the house in 2.5 weeks and they've got somebody doing grocery shopping for them. And so I hope that people understand. You're probably seeing it firsthand a little bit being up in New York on Long Island right now, but I hope people understand just how severe and how catastrophic this is and where we might be headed. Because if not, it's not going to come back as quickly as we'd hoped.
Absolutely. I mean, again, like we're all in this together. It's global, you know, it's not an isolated incident. So for us, it's, you know, I guess folks can maybe have the mindset of, well, everybody, you know, I'll go out and it's okay. And it's not, you may not be symptomatic, but you may be able to, transmit that, that virus. We don't really know. So, you know, for me, I'm constantly looking at the news. I find myself doing more and more research, just because I'm interested. It's intriguing. It's also scary. It's captivated the entire world. Yeah. So it's, I'm just trying to get as much information as I can, try and be as healthy as I can. I would always wash my hands. It wasn't that. And I always would have hand sanitizer, never thinking anything would ever actually come to this. But I found myself even more now being cognizant if I touch something or, if I go out to the field, I'm making sure I'm not near anything or I'm not really touching anything. Yeah. Just, again, trying to isolate myself because if I come home, my mom's 73, and it's just like, I don't want to be a contributor to that. And I'm making sure she's taken care of. I'm making sure I'm helping out wherever I can, go out and get stuff. but again, trying to limit that just so we can all stay healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. So a couple things before we depart. Love the hairstyle. Love the quarantine hair. You usually buzz that thing pretty close, but the Chia Pet look is a good look.
Well, again, mom loves the hair. It's funny because when I buzz it, she gets disappointed, and I haven't had the ability to get a haircut. And, if you like it, I like it. And if mom likes it, at the end of the day, if mom likes it, it's going to stay. So
it's going to stay. There you go. The other thing I need to know, mom cooked those pizza bagels for you, right?
Absolutely. And again, I probably would have left them in the oven longer because I was so excited.
Show them again. They're perfectly burnt. Like, that is the perfect amount of cheese burn. Like, that is beautiful. That is elite.
Can you smell that?
Yeah, I can. It's remarkable.
My computer has a
what do you got there? Sesame bagel, everything bagel?
We went sesame. We went sesame just because that was available, and I had to fight a guy in the store. I grabbed it, and he grabbed it, and I was like, I'll take this one.
I also love the wood paneling on the wall in your mom's basement. It makes me feel like I'm sitting in like 1950s Pleasantville. It's awesome.
You don't think it's Wayne's World-esque?
And I'm not going to let you leave without actually taking a bite out of that pizza bagel.
All right. Here we go. All right. Let me see here. See? If you could only smell it.
That's elite. That's got to be. There's no way it's not.
I beat you because it's pizza and a bagel, so you get the best of both worlds on Long Island.
That's true. Hey, listen, from a guy who grew up in an Italian Jewish family on Long Island, like, that is absolutely perfect. You've got me feeling you've got me missing home. That's what you've got me going right now. I got all the feels, okay?
Well, when I get back to town, we're going to go out on a pizza hunt, and we'll enjoy a couple slices.
Every Friday at lunch, Pizza Friday, you know the deal. Now you're letting the world know about my secrets. But thanks for taking a few minutes. Stay healthy, stay safe, keep the family safe. And, congrats on all the success. I know this year was trending in quite a really interesting direction and an exciting direction. And good luck going forward. We'll see you back down in Charlotte once it's safe to hop on a plane again.
Well, I appreciate what you do, Phil. Honestly, you're a tremendous inspiration to me. And, the work that you do is thankless at times. But you're a heck of a reporter and a heck of a journalist and a commentator. And, again, you really help us get the message out for Queens athletics. So thank you.
I'm happy to do it. And I enjoy, you've got a great bunch of kids. And I hope a lot of those seniors get another chance to do it again because it'll be interesting to see. Chris Panos, the head men's lacrosse coach. Thanks, Chris. Stay healthy.
Thank you, Phil. You too.